watching KATU News on Digital.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome into today's digital newscast. I have Wright Gazaway here with me today because we are going to speak about your investigative story last night. If you guys saw it out there, you did a great job, by the way, right? It was an amazing story.
Thanks.
So thank you so much for speaking with us today. We've gotten a lot of viewer comments about that yesterday. So walk us through what this business owner has been dealing with.
Yeah, this is a real estate office on North Lombard. So they're in North Portland. They bought this office back in 2018. It was a rundown building. It was a hair salon and a pot shop, but in one building. They bought it and wanted to turn it into their real estate office. So they put their permits into the city, and the city said, okay, yeah, you can do this project, but if you're going to do the inside, you have to fix the street corner outside. And to rewind a little bit, this story is kind of a follow-up to some reporting we did last year on an axe-throwing business in Northwest Portland, similar situation.
Yeah, I remember that
They
one.
wanted to develop this old office into an axe-throwing facility, and the city said, okay, you need to fix the street corner outside. In the course of that reporting, the city backed off and said, okay, we won't make you do it because this business owner was telling us this is way too expensive. It's going to cost us way too much. So this lady actually reached out to us after that story and said, hey, who was his attorney? How did he get out of this? And he replied back and said, I just spoke to KATU. So we've been speaking really for the last probably 5 or 6 months with this real estate agent and finally got everything in order to understand her situation. And there are so many layers to it,
I know.
which our story gets into.
So many. I was reading through that story, and what I found so interesting was she was speaking about how it was costing more to renovate like the outside from what the city asked for than like even her renovations inside and like what she needed for her business.
That's the outrage that we've seen in multiple situations. The city puts this requirement on business owners, and then the cost of the corner ends up matching or almost matching what they're building out inside. And we haven't been able to get a good answer on why the city puts such an onus on these business owners to spend so much money outside, other than they say that's just city code. If you want to update or renovate certain spaces, you have to bring the sidewalk and the ramps, corner ramps and all up to speed, which that's in the code. And developers, some developers know that. That's why some spots go undeveloped and some don't, and they find out in this process. And what we've kind of heard is that it's a little bit too late in the game once you figure out that you have to do this.
Yeah, and I mean, for that owner specifically, it was like her costs doubled then because of what she thought was inside. And
what's weird is the city told us in both cases, where are you getting these numbers? You know, we gave these business owners our projected costs, and we could have done it. We believe, it would have been half that. The PBOT in this case was saying the work requirement they gave them was about $51,000. What they then said to me when I brought that up is they're not really taking into account the market.
Gotcha.
And what's going on. I mean, that was during COVID, a little bit after COVID.
So it's like that was their estimate that they gave.
The estimate. And the other thing is PBOT's doing dozens or hundreds of corners. So, of course, they get a cheaper cost. These businesses have to find a contractor to do one. And they said it's very difficult. No contractor really wants to just do one. They want a bigger contract where they can do 10 or 12, or in the case of this ODOT project, 177. And that was the real like crazy thing about this story is what was going on in that area.
Let's talk about what was going on in the area at the same time, because I was reading your story and I saw that ODOT had like some specific improvement that was going on that block over there.
Yeah, so a lot of this was going on at the same time. So they bought the building in 2018. They put their permit in right away to do the interior, and that's when they got the work requirement from PBOT back in early 2019. The developer and the engineers say that the city told them, hey, you need to coordinate with ODOT. I'm getting conflicting reasons. The city says they told them that because it's a state road. The developer is saying it was because of this project. Either way, at some point in the summer of 2019, this developer and the engineer here reached out to ODOT because the state was planning this massive renovation of Lombard. They were going to repave. They were going to add turn lanes. They were going to do corner ramps. And basically what this business was trying to say was they needed to match. So it all had to be the same. So that was the communication level.
Okay, so it had to be the same as ODOT.
They said you need to communicate with ODOT so that your corner looks the same. They weren't, but they never got the impression, they say, that they didn't have to do the ramp. That was the thing here. They just thought, okay, we're communicating with ODOT because we need our corner to match the other 177 they're doing. And as they got through that process, way later on, they say their contractor actually said, hey, but this corner was actually on my list earlier with the state, and it's now not. So that's how they found out.
So the corner was on the list at first, and then ODOT took that corner off the list, I'm assuming, because then the business owner was
And that's
liable for the. So then it's kind of that question of like, whose responsibility is it then if they submit the application and there's already, the state is doing that?
Our question for PBOT was pretty simple. Why not? In 2019, the emails we got in that story show that the city, the state, and this group were communicating about the corner, and no work had been done. So our question was why at that point the city didn't step in and just say, hey, this doesn't make sense. Let's keep this on the state project, because they have flexibility. The rules are the rules, right? But they can waive these requirements in certain cases. And that was my question. Take off your PBOT hat for a second. Why not just keep this on the state project for continuity, for ease? The other thing that they've spent $100,000 on that ramp. They've sent me the documentation for that. ODOT's project was $16.5 million. They did 177 corner ramps. So if they only did ramps, they would have done ramps. Their ramps were cheaper than that one. But we know they repaved and did other things. So my point to the city was ODOT could have done it cheaper, and as you found out, they could have done it quicker. It would have been done sooner.
Yeah, I think so when I was reading your article online, and when I got to the end, I think that was the crux of it for me, was that the city was saying, the business owner needed to get her corner done earlier, but then ODOT's was done before their projects were done before hers. So
and there's a range of reasons. Yeah, because this one big reason is because the state is familiar with the permitting process and the development and the review. So they got through a lot quicker. Plus, they had a contractor lined up. I got emails from this real estate agent where, in real time, you can see she's watching the ODOT crews make it down. She ended up, the concrete company she contracted with was ODOT's, the same. So she was like, "Hey, I'm trying to get an estimate because your crews are coming down Lombard,
She's watching them,
and I want them to get mine done as they pass." So the timing of it, I get PBOT's position it was about timing, and they say it's not our job to negotiate, and if these business owners wanted ODOT to do it, they should have communicated with ODOT. And what the business is basically saying is we just didn't know. We didn't know we had an option.
It's so much like bureaucracy and red tape with those kind of things too, like permitting and like for the everyday person. That stuff is just so confusing. In
the bigger impact that we've seen in now a few different cases is it really just these people say, we're never buying in Portland again. The axe throwing guy before his situation, he didn't want to expand in Portland. We're talking to other people who are stopping their projects. There's a developer I've been going back and forth with now, or a contractor, I should say, and he said he's had multiple clients who, when they got through this process, just said, we can't afford to do it here. We're going to go to Beaverton or Lake Oswego or you name it. And that's the bigger impact for Portlanders. It's prohibitive in some cases to business.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we don't want to see. And we've seen so many businesses, leaving the Portland area, closing up. So,
and it's I do want to point out, like we understand that this is about the ADA compliance and the ramps being up to the corners being up to code for handicapped individuals. That's important, and that we don't want to imply that through this reporting it's not. The question we're asking is, whose responsibility is it? Should it be these developers who are doing smaller projects? We're not talking about multi-million-dollar mixed-use apartment buildings. These are really, small builds, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 construction projects where they're having to do another $100,000 or $200,000 outside.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and obviously, a lot of business owners are also having questions as well. They don't want to see those unexpected bills there. So thank you so much for that, Wright. That was a great investigation. You can catch his full story online, right?
Yeah, and I'll say one more thing. One thing we're doing in this reporting is we really don't know how widespread this is, how many businesses are having to do this. And we've heard some emails. We've gotten some emails from people, hey, this happened to me. But really, if this has happened to you or you know anyone this has happened to, we want to hear from them and hear their experience to just figure out how widespread it is and how often the city is putting this on developers.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Wright. And then anybody out there, if you're having an issue with it as well, you can message Wright. You can call the newsroom. We will be on that for you. We're on your side. So thank you for that, Wright.
Thanks.
And then my next story that I wanted to read for you guys today. So over in Vancouver, students are planning a walkout. Some students in the Vancouver Public School District, they're going to hold one this afternoon. So as KATU has previously reported, the district is set to cut 262 positions district-wide, and that would reduce the district's budget by about $35 million. So we will have that full story coming up for you later. But yeah, it's something, they've done quite a few of those so far. And then my next story for you this morning, so let's move on to the next one. This is really important. So if you haven't filed your taxes yet, Joe, it's time to do so. We have Joe English. He's going to get to the weather in just a sec. But first, I'm going to talk about something. My name's on that list. Yeah, my name's on that list too, Joe.
Okay.
They're waiting for us. So
right.
This is what you need to do right now. Tax day is next Monday, April 15th. So we officially have less than a week. If you need help, the IRS does offer some free tools to help you navigate that filing process. You could also use paid software like H&R Block or TurboTax. So a lot of options that you can use there. But financial experts say the most important thing, though, is just getting them done.
One of those mistakes that we see people make is they just get scared. And so then they put it aside and they say, no, I don't want to deal with it at all, which is about the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, I love the way she says that, the worst thing you could do. Get your taxes done. IRS says the average tax return amounts to about $3,200. And if you can't get them done by April 15th, you can file for an extension. That'll give you until October 15th to file your taxes. And if you live in Oregon, I mean, you should be excited because the kicker was pretty big this year, Joe.
Bigger than usual, right?
Yeah.
Now, that one always throws me, though, that says you can get an extension, but you have to pay. If you owe money, you have to pay, and then you file for an extension. I don't see how that works exactly, but, you know.
They just want more of our money, Joe.
Yeah.
But this is somebody who has a lot of money now. Yeah, I'm talking about the Powerball. So we are learning some more information about the Powerball and where that ticket was sold. So we know it was in Oregon. It was sold in Portland at the Plaid Pantry at 6060 Northeast Columbia Boulevard over in Portland. And Joe, get this, the store is going to get a $100,000 bonus there. So I'm sure they're very happy to have the winning ticket from there. But Oregon Lottery is working with the prize winner. So their identity will become public because of Oregon state law. We don't know it just yet. But they're holding some kind of event over at 12:30, a briefing at the Plaid Pantry. The store owner is going to be there as well as the Oregon Lottery. They're going to be answering any questions. We will have a crew there in about an hour, Joe, so that'll be exciting, be out there.
So we don't know if the actual winner is going to be there or not.
We don't know,
Might
not
be a
yet.
big surprise.
Yeah, it could be a big surprise, so stay tuned for that in about an hour.
You know, and it doesn't mean that they're from Portland or from Oregon.
That's very
could
true,
be
yeah.
somebody just driving through town and
That's
stopped
very
at Plaid
true.
Pantry and went, oh, I better get a ticket.
Imagine just going in there to grab
Although
like a
they-
soda or something and then
And
becoming
walk out with $1 billion.
Are we going to luck out with the weather,
Wow.
though, Joe?
Hey,
That's
we're
the
looking,
real question.
pretty good. Tuesday's not too bad. Partly cloudy. We're going to be in the 60s, so very pleasant. And then we are going to see what we like to call our weather maker, which this time around is a ridge of high pressure for Wednesday and Thursday. That's going to bring us sunshine and temperatures. I may be hitting 70 degrees. I'm not going to go that far, but we are looking at upper 60s for Wednesday, mid to upper 60s for Thursday. So a couple of really nice days coming up.
All right, not looking too bad. I wish it was in the 70s, though.
You like that.
I know I do.
San Diego, partly cloudy, 75 degrees.
Yeah, we need to go to San Diego.
Yeah.
And yesterday, though, unfortunately, it was cloudy in some areas across the world for the solar eclipse.
Yeah.
But OMSI had a pretty cool event, so I want to listen to what some people had to say about that yesterday.
I saw like the sun, but it was like orange, so with like the moon kind of. And it would just disappear at some parts.
And just like a little smidge, like you indented a basketball, it looked like.
I love the way that kid explained it too, that the sun would disappear a little bit and it was looking orange. But I mean, yeah, some of the cloud didn't make it too good around the world.
It's still pretty
but
fascinating.
very cool to
Even
see
a
out there.
A smidge of what you could see of what they were saying there.
Yeah, a little bit of a
Yeah.
smidge. Well, thank you for that, Joe. I want the summer weather to be here soon.
We're working
so
on it.
hopefully you can bring that to us. Thank you all for watching. We'll be right back here with another digital newscast tomorrow. Have a great day.
This has been a KATU News DIGICAST. KATU News is